Welcome to the demo of the Update 25C feature, Redwood Create and Edit Workflows in SCM Product Lifecycle Management. For the new feature, Redwood Create and Edit Workflows, by workflows we mean any object with a workflow. This includes change orders, change requests, problem reports, and corrective actions. These workflows all share the same user interface, allowing users to have a consistent experience across all workflow objects. This new workflow user interface has many features that are not available in the classic UI, including the use of AI. These features increase productivity and improve user experience, allowing users to create and edit workflows quickly and efficiently. Let's move on to the demo. This demo shows you how Redwood Create and Edit Workflows enhances your business. Here we have a workflow of type engineering change order. You'll notice the header has additional workflow information that was not available in the classic UI header: description, change type, reason code, priority, and assigned to. This header persists, providing you context as you navigate to each of the tabs. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a button with 3 ellipses for more actions. This provides me with a list of actions, including cancel, refresh, save and close, and spotlight, which I'll show in a minute. I mentioned we have AI in the new workflow UI. In the formatted description, we have a generate button, which runs an AI agent. This agent gathers key header attribute information to generate an overview statement. For the summary of changes, the agent gathers affected objects and their red lines. This includes red lines to revision, lifecycle phase, effective date, item header attributes, item revision attachments, structure, and AML. This provides a quick overview summary of the change order. If I add or remove affected objects or red lines, I can run the agent again to generate an updated formatted description using the most current data. You'll notice we have a 5-column layout for main and additional attributes, whereas in the classic UI, we only had 2 columns. This presents a more consolidated view requiring less scrolling. I can use filter chips at the top to jump to specific sections, including any custom attributes. I can also search for attributes. For example, if I want to see all of the date fields, I can search for date, and all the attributes with date in the label are highlighted in yellow. On the Affected Objects tab, I can add affected items using the Select and Add Items button. This presents a side panel where I can search for and add affected items. I can update new revision, new lifecycle phase, and effective date, and I can use copy and paste to make updates efficiently. To perform other item red lines, like item header attributes, revision attachments, structure, and AML, I edit the item in change order context. To do that, I can either click on the affected item link or I can use the spotlight. Under More Actions, I select Spotlight. This pushes all the affected items to the Spotlight tab of the navigator. This will allow me to easily navigate from one affected item to the next. When I click on an item from the Spotlight or the Affected Items tab, I can view the item in change order context. I'm now viewing the item in change order context. Here you see the change order number, and here is a description. Here is the affected item and the revision that is being redlined. In the new workflow UI, when redlining items, you directly edit the item in change order context rather than editing it in the change order subtabs like we did in the classic UI. This provides a consistent experience while viewing or redlining items. I can see that this item has red lines on description with the old value with a red strike through. I can add more red lines, but for this demo, I'm just going to view the red lines. On the Attachments tab, I can see there's a green add icon and green text, which indicates that an item revision attachment was added. On the Structure tab, I can see Structure red lines. Here I can see there's a color-coded Change Action icon, which indicates there are red lines. This brown-colored icon indicates there were edits. Cells that were redlined are highlighted, and the old values have a strike-through. For reference designator and substitute component red lines, we display a red dot to indicate red lines. You double-click to see the red lines using the side panel. The green replace icon indicates a replacement was done with a replaced component in red strike-through. The green add icon indicates component additions. The red subtract icon indicates deleted components, and these are shown in a red strike-through. This color-coded view provides a clear and concise view of your red lines, which was not available in the classic UI. For AML red lines, I go to the Relationships tab under Trading Partner items. Again, I see the Change Action icon indicating an update was made, and I can see for the first row, the relationship status was edited, the second row was deleted, and the fourth row was added. If I want to navigate to another affected item, I can use the spotlight to navigate from one to make more red lines or to view more red lines. And when I'm finished, I can click the arrow icon to return to the change order. On the Attachments tab of the change order, we now support the preview action. The system presents a preview of the attachments, and I use the arrows to scroll through them. This is much more efficient than downloading and opening each file. Attachment Preview supports DWG, CAD files, as well as common file types, including images, PDFs, and Microsoft Office files like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. On the Workflow and Tasks tab, in the upper section, you see the workflow diagram, which has all of the workflow statuses. You'll notice a tab is called Workflow and Tasks, whereas in the classic UI, we had separate tabs for workflow and tasks. We combine them in one since tasks are typically assigned to be completed by a specific workflow status. The Workflow Details lower section has two sub-tabs. On the Activities sub-tab, you can see participant information and workflow status changes. The current status is selected by default as a filter chip, but you can remove the filter chip to see the entire workflow with all the participants at different statuses. Say I'm the change analyst, and I know that Clive is going on vacation, and I can see in the header this is an urgent ECO. I can use the Manage Participants button to remove Clive. You'll notice that I can select the current or any future status when I'm modifying the participants. In the classic UI, you had to select each status from the workflow diagram and use the plus and minus buttons. This user interface is much more intuitive and efficient. I know Clive is on CC approval, so I select that status, and I can remove Clive, and I'll replace him with Shirley. When I save this change, it will be written to the change order history. So you can track that in the History tab. Again, I remove the filter chip, and I can see that Clive is no longer an approver, and he will not hold up the approval process while he's out on vacation. On the Tasks sub-tab, I can see the open tasks by default. We filter on open tasks because typically you need to follow up and make sure they're completed. But if I remove the open filter chip, I can also see completed tasks. And in addition, we now show the completed date. This is the date and the time that the task was completed. And this is not available in the classic UI. On the Relationships tab, it's pretty much the same as a classic UI, but I want to add a relationship rule to show you another new feature. So I click on the plus to add a rule. When I select Create, There's an eyeball now to indicate there's a rule. And you'll notice at the bottom, there's this red dot by the tab name. This indicates that I have unsaved changes. If I forget that I made this change and I go to cancel, the system's going to warn me that if I continue, I'm going to discard my changes. I select cancel, and then I can save my changes. This feature is also available while you're editing items. The History tab has all of the history for the workflow object. It's similar to the workflow history search, but only for this specific change order. If I want to see all of the structure red lines, I search for structure, and the filter is on the structure red lines. This way you can see a consolidated list of all of your structure red lines. This concludes the demo of the Update 25C feature, Redwood Create and Edit Workflows in SCM Product Lifecycle Management. I hope you have seen how the new user interface will increase productivity and improve user experience. Thank you for watching.